wonderful people, it's Wild here. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to build this super cozy Hobbit style house. This charming fantasy style build is easy to create with step-by-step instructions. Nestled in a custom hill, it has a spacious interior with room to expand. Plus, I'll show you how to go about decorating the exterior to add character and blend it into its surroundings for the perfect Hobbiton vibe. The materials you'll need for this build are on your screen now. If you're planning on building more than one of these Hobbit houses, you could swap out the colour of the terracotta here to give each one a unique feel. It might also be useful to have a few extra of the moss blocks on hand, so that way you can terraform it to your particular landscape. Here is an outline for today's build. You can see that it's quite a complex shape, as we are working with a more natural style build. The lighter outline there shows where the walls of the house itself will go, and then the darker outline shows a rough idea of the terraforming, and of course you can adjust this to fit in with your landscape. In total, you'll need an area which is about 29 blocks by 19 blocks, and you can see that I've got a 3 wide door gap left there at the front in the center. I recommend starting in one location on the corner of this build and using the grid pattern to count out an outline like this one. I've used concrete, but you can use whatever material you like. We're going to begin this build by placing in all of the basic walls using some yellow terracotta, and I'm starting on this big back curved wall first. These walls are 2 blocks high. I'm starting on this right hand side and I'm going to build along 5 blocks. We should have 3 blocks left in this section. I'll add in 1 block with a frog light on top. I'm using this yellow coloured ochre frog light, and then I'll fill in the rest. Let's continue around the curve, so we've got 2 and then 1. On this next group of 2, I'm going to add in a frog light. Then we've got 3 here. Then for this 5 wide section, I'm going to build across the bottom first. In the center, I'll add in a frog light, and then I'm going to build another 2 on top of this, so our wall's a total of 3 blocks high. Back down to 2 blocks for the rest of our walls. So we're going 3 across. Then for this 2 wide section, I'm going to add in another frog light, and it should be on the opposite side from this one here, so you can see this one faces out this way and this one faces out that way. Back to adding in our walls, we've got 1, 1, 2, and then for our last 5 wide section, I'll build up 2 high, add in a frog light for the next one, and then build up 2 high for the final 3 blocks. So our wall should look like this. Now for this front wall, which has just a slight curve to it, we're going to be creating a wall that also curves upwards. I'm going to start on this left-hand side. We've already got these 2 blocks here, and I'm going to be building up 3 high for 2 blocks, just like this. I'm going to add a layer going across this next section, and you can see that we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 blocks here. In the center of this, so 3 in from each side, I'll add in a green stained glass, and then I'm going to be building up an additional 3 high and across this whole wall. There we are. I'm going to come into the other side and work on that side next, starting by building up 3 high, just like this. I'll build across the base of this next 4 wide section, and then 1 in from this side where we have our doorway, I'll add in my glass. I'll build up 3 high on top of this for a 4 high wall in total. And here's how it should be looking. So I'm going to be building up 5 high for this 2 wide section. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to bridge this gap so we have a 3 by 3 hole. I then need to add an additional 5 blocks along here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this will mean that we will have a center block here and 3 off to either side. And you can see that it extends 2 blocks out from the doorway. So here is how our front wall should look. We're going to come inside the build now and work on some interior walls. So I'm going to face the front door here, and then going towards my left, I'm going to leave a 1 block gap, and this is where I'm going to start my next wall. So I'm going to build up 3 high like this, I'll leave a 3 wide gap, and then I'm going to continue building up 3 high until I reach this wall here, and I'm going to add an additional block on top of this. We're going to create an archway using some spruce stairs, just creating a circular shape like this, and then I'm adding in some spruce trapdoors to finish off the shape. So it'll look like that. I'm going to grab some stripped spruce logs next and build across 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'll grab some spruce trapdoors to add 3 along here like that. There we go. I'm going to leave this block free, but I'm going to add a layer on top of the rest of these spruce blocks. I'll count 2 in and add another layer, just going 3 in, so I'm leaving this front edge clear. So this wall will look like this. I'm also going to come onto the other side of this wall and add in a few more trapdoors. We have an extra one on this side to cover up that yellow terracotta, and then we add in our 3 like we have on the other side of the wall. Let's add in our next interior wall. Again, looking at the front door, I'm going to come to the right side this time, leaving a 1 block gap, and I'll build up 3 high. I'll leave my 3 block gap and continue building up 3 high until I reach this back wall, and I'll add an additional block in here. Let's create this same archway. These circular doorways are so classic for Hobbit style builds, so it's nice to carry them through to the interior. Next, we're going to be building 8 across with our stripped spruce logs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And going in with our trapdoors, we're going to be adding 4 along this wall. There we are. Now we've got our yellow terracotta again. I'm going to leave 3 blocks clear this time and build across here 5. Counting in 2 blocks, I'll add in 3 more, and again we've got this front edge clear. For the trapdoors on the opposite side of this wall, we only need to add in 3. And then finally, I'm going to come back into this central room, and I'm placing an upside down spruce stair above the center of each of these doorways. And then I'm having some spruce logs come across to create a beam. I'm going to add in 2 spruce trapdoors here and here, and this just rounds off the look again, and we've created a lovely design for our entryway. I'm going to be placing a lantern in this free block, and before we move on to some terraforming, which is going to help create our roof, I'm going to add in some flooring. So we are going to be using stripped dark oak logs for this space, and to divide up these 3 rooms, I'm going to be running the logs in different directions. So for this central room, I'm running the logs in this direction. So I'm just going to make sure all of them are facing the same way, and you can see how this creates the look of large floorboards. I'm also going into this gap in the doorway there. So once I've got this all filled in, and I'll just stop here for the minute, I'm going to come into each of these rooms and I'll be placing the logs going in the opposite direction. So once I've got a few of these in, you can see that it creates the look of a difference in the floorboards, which just provides some visual difference between the rooms. And of course, if you go ahead and add a doorway to this wall, it also provides a little bit of contrast when you walk into the new space. So let's go ahead and fill in the rest of this floor, and then we can get terraforming. So I've got all of my flooring in and we're ready to start terraforming. I'm going to be using moss blocks as they have a nice green texture on all the edges, but you could substitute this out for grass. Of course, the interior is going to be using the moss blocks as our roof, so keep in mind that if you do use grass, you're going to have a brown coloured roof rather than the green of the moss. For our first layer, I'm going to be following this outline I've created. So I'm starting on the left-hand side diagonally out, and we've got 2. Then we've got 5, coming in for 3, then 2, 1, 2, 3, then we're coming 1, 2, and 4, and we're coming back around the curve. Once I've got this outline, I'll just fill in this layer. So we've got 2, then 1, 2, 2, and 2, curving back around with 1, then 2, 2, then we've got 6 along here, and finally 1 more block and 2, and this should join us up with the right hand corner. I'm then going to fill in this whole gap. Now keep in mind that if you are working with a different landscape, you might change up the terraforming of this hilly house. The idea here is that we want to provide as much space inside while making this look like a natural mound. So once you've done your terraforming, make sure you go inside and check your space. Another great option is to flatten out your area and then go ahead and add your dimension afterwards. So you can see I'm working in a really flat field, but I can go ahead and terraform it later to add back in the dimension. For my next layer, I'm again starting on the left hand side. We've got 1 block, then we'll have 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll come in and add in 3, 1, 2, 3. Then we've got a group of 2, then we've got 2 groups of 1, followed by a group of 3, a group of 2, another group of 2, and 3 across here. 1, 2, 3. We're curving back around now, so we've got 2, then we've got 2 groups of 1, 1, 2, then we've got 2 blocks here, 2 blocks here. I'm going to add in 1 block here before we curve back around for the final section. I'm going to add in 2 groups of 2 like this, a group of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, a group of 2, 1, 2, and finishing with 1 more block here. Let's go ahead and fill in all of this. If you're short on moss, you can of course remove the blocks from the underneath of this layer before adding in the next one, but make sure you light up. You could also tuck some hidden storage in here once you get time to decorate your interior. So there is our second layer in. For our next layer, we're going to start building on top of these walls. So on this left side, I'm going to place a block in here and come out 1. Then I'll have 3 blocks along here, coming in for another 2, then another 2 after that. We're going on a diagonal here for 1, then we've got a group of 2, followed by a group of 2, and then 2 groups of 1, 1, and then 1 here. I'm going to add 1 more block just to bring it along, and I'll add in 3 following this. There we go. Coming in 1 block, then we've got a group of 2, a group of 1, then we have 2 groups of 2. Coming back around this side now, so we've got 2, then I'm going to add in 3, 1, 2, 3, 2 blocks here, 2 blocks coming in, and finally 2 blocks, and this will bring us a 1 over the edge. Now we don't so much have an outline to fill in now, but I am going to build out this moss so it lands on top of this wall. And fill in any gaps as well. You can see that from the interior of the build, we're going to have 1 layer of moss going all the way around this exterior wall. And from above, it's looking like this. For our next layer, once again, starting on this left-hand side, I'm going to begin by building 2 out like this, and I'm going to add an extra one here, so we've come 3 blocks across. I'm going to add in 1 more block over here, then I'm going to add in a 2 by 2 square like this, so it's sitting 1 block on top of the layer we just completed. I'm adding in another 2 by 2 square, this time it's set 1 back. Next, we're going to create a little zigzaggy W. So we're placing a block here, and I'm going to add in a few more to create this W shape with a new section. I'm going to add in another kind of S sort of shape, so we've got 2 and then 2, just like this. For our next shape, we're going to build all the way across to the other side of this yellow wall, like that. I'll add in the 5 blocks across here, and then 1 in from this edge, I'm going to add in a block, just like that. It can be a little bit tricky to see with this moss, so take a good look from each angle and that'll help you figure out the shapes. Alright, on to the next shape. I'm going to start in the center of this wall and build over 2 blocks. Then I'm going to add in 4 more blocks, this time 2 deep. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's bringing me right to this edge. I'm going to add in another grouping of 2 and 2, and then 1 more here. Then I'm going to add in 3 groups of 2, 1, 2, 3, and I'll add in another 3, 1, 2, 3, just like that. Coming around this way, I'll add in 4 more groups of 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and finally I'll add in 3 more, this time sitting on top of this wall, 1, 2, 3. And you can see that it's now got a 2 block overhang from this wall, but it's lining up with this edge. Let's take a step back before we move on to the next layer. Now there is quite a lot of counting involved in this part of the build, but keep in mind that since this is a natural shape, if you miscount a little bit, don't worry, it will still look fine as we're going for that natural mountainy feel and every mountain is different. Okay, moving on to the next step. I'm going to come up to this wall here where we have a step up above the doorway. I'm going to start by building out 3 blocks so we have that 2 block overhang, and I'm creating a 3 by 3 square, just like this. Then I'm going to add in a stepping kind of section like this. So we've got a group of 3, a group of 2, and a group of 1. Coming along this way, I'm going to add in a rectangle, which is 2 by 3 coming back, and an extra 2 blocks in here. Then I'm going to create that same sort of stepping shape. So we'll build back 3, then 2, and then 1 to fill in this gap. Now we are moving on to the back section of this build. So I'm going to add in 2 groups of 2 coming along here. Then I'm going to add in an additional 2 blocks. And we're coming over the top of the center of the room here. I'm going to fill in this gap by placing in my first block here, and then I'll add in an additional 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this should be 6 blocks across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ooh, and 1 more, 6. There we go. It's always good to go back and check your counting. Now starting on top of this log, I'm going to count across 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then diagonally in from this last block, I'll add in 1 more, and this is just to help break up the larger curves here on the back. Coming over to this edge where we have our last block, I'm going to add in 5 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that should fill in this gap. I'm going to build across 2 like this for 3 blocks. Then I'm going to add in a little zigzag like this. So we've got a diagonal here. Coming in, I'm going to add in a block diagonally down from here, so we've kind of got a step of 3, and I'm going to come back another 2 blocks and curve around, so we should end up with a flat edge of 3 here. Let's add in a 2 by 2 square, and we're really close to the front of the build now. So I'm going to be building 2 forward here, and 3 forward along the rest of this wall. And I'm stopping when I get to this corner. So you can see that we've stepped 1 block in, but once again, we are 2 blocks out from this wall. We are getting near the end of this section of the building as we just have 2 layers left of our terraforming. So let's start on this front wall, and I'm going to be building out 3. 1, 2, 3. And I'm building along the whole length of this front wall. This will connect me up to the other side, and you can see it steps back 1, but once again is 2 blocks out. Perfect. Okay, next, coming towards this left-hand side, I'm going to add in a little L shape, just like this. Then I'm going to build back 4 this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4 along here. There we go. Next, I'm going to add in this sort of T shape, and we should be left with a 2 block gap in here. Let's come over and work on this side next. So coming 1 block back, I'm going to add in a little 2 by 2 square like this, and then I'm going to add an extra kind of L shape wrapping around the corner. So we should have this kind of T shape visible. I'm going to add in another 2 by 2 square, leaving 1 block gap free. And I'm going to build across here 3 blocks, like this. So there should be 4 blocks between this moss and this moss. Now I need to fill in the back, so I'm going to start 1 block in from this last moss block here, and I'm going to finish 1 block in from this last moss block, and that'll be on top of our wall, so we'll build across there like that. Finally, we need to fill in this 2 hole gap, so I'll just place in 2 more moss, leaving 3 on this side and 3 on this side. Let's add in our final layer. So I'm coming back to the front of the build now, and I'm finding the center of this wall, which is the center of our doorway. And I'm going to place in 1 moss block and then 1 to either side, and you can see that this is set in 1 from the edge. Next, I'm going to add a layer where I'm coming out 2 to either side of this. Just like this. On this side, I need to add in 3 blocks coming back and then 2 here. Then on this side, I'm going to add in another 3 blocks coming back, but just 1 to fill in this gap. I'm going to come 1 in on this side, and on this side, I've got this block here already, so I'm just going to need to build across this gap. You can use a temporary block or an extra moss block to do this. Then I'm going to go ahead and fill in the rest of this shape. And it really does look like a little hill. Of course, terraforming around this build is super important to make it blend in with the landscape, but let's take a look inside. So you can see that we've got a slope on the inside of the roof, and we've got a lovely natural mossy roof. And in our rooms, we have the same sort of thing. Let's check out the other side as well. And they really are very spacious rooms. While we're inside here, I'm going to be adding some oak trapdoors in front of each of these frog lights. and over to the other side as well. And don't forget about the one in the center. I'm also going to add in some beams, so if we come over to this left-hand room, I'm going to start by adding in a log, then a stair, then I'm going to have some more logs just connecting across this section of the roof, just like this. Then if we come over to this side, we're going to do a similar thing, building out with 3 logs, then we'll have a stair, and then we're going to connect up the rest with a few more logs. There we go, this just continues the details that we've got going on in the rest of the build. I've come out the front now and we're going to add in all of the beautiful details to spruce up this facade. I'm going to start on this doorway, and like we have inside, we're going to create some circular archways. So I've got my 2 spruce stairs at the bottom, then we're going to have some trapdoors coming up. To make it easier to add in the rest, I'm going to add in a slab above each side of the doorway, and then we've got a brick in the center. Then onto these brick slabs, we're placing in our final 2 stairs and this spruce trapdoor. To create the rest of the curve, I'm going to add a stair with brick on either side. And then I'm using these decorated pots with this wheat emblem, but you could use whatever design you like. And you could have some fun and use a mixture of designs on each side. Next, I'm going to be taking some spruce logs and building out 2 from the top on each side of this doorway. Just like this. I'm going to grab some stairs next, and I'm creating an archway. We have 2 coming over this way and then a slab in the center, and I'll place in a couple of spruce trapdoors. I have 2 slabs coming forward as well, and I'll place in 3 more trapdoors. Then coming down from this, I'm going to add in a stair at the top and a stair at the bottom. And I'll place in some spruce fences in between. Coming over to the left-hand side now, I'm going to add in 2 more strip spruce logs. I've got some stairs coming down and a fence in between, just like this. Up top, we've got 2 spruce slabs, and I'll fill in the rest of this gap with some spruce trapdoors. Coming over to this side now, I'm going to add in a fence and another strip spruce log. Then we've got a stair coming up this way and a slab in this gap, and then finally 2 trapdoors, one here and one here. Next, I need to add some decoration to this window. So I'm creating a windowsill with some dark oak slab and then a dark oak trapdoor on either side. And then we want to create an archway over the top using brick. So we've got brick walls on either side of the window, a slab in the center, and then we're going to add in 2 stairs. In the center where we have our window, I'm going to be placing in an oak trapdoor, just like this. And then we're going to come over here and add in some pots. So I've got an upside down stair with a pot, and then a decorated pot beside that with a pot on top. Now notice that I'm clicking on the wall behind this decorated pot. If I click on the pot itself, the pot is going to disappear and it ends up inside of the decorated pot like that. So you can either place it on the wall behind, or if you hold shift and click onto the top of the pot, you're able to place one inside. Here is how our front wall is looking so far. Let's move over to the right hand side now. I'm going to start off my window in the same way with our dark oak slab and then 2 dark oak trapdoors. I'm going to create an archway, just like we did before, with our stairs and slabs, and of course add in my trapdoor. Next we need to add in our pots, so I'm going to come to this 2 wide section and place in a dark oak stair first with a pot on top, and then a decorated pot beside that and a pot on top of that. Now we need to add the spruce detailing like we have on the rest of the facade. So I'm going to start off by building out 2 blocks with my strip spruce logs here. Coming to this side, I'm going to add in 2 slabs, one here and one beside where this stair is, and then we'll add in 3 trapdoors. Below it, we've got to have our 2 stairs and a fence, and then we need to come over and do this corner. So we've got a log with a fence below. Then I'm going to come out 2 blocks with a stair. I'm going to place a slab in here, and then finally a trapdoor. So here is how it's looking. Let's head inside the build now to create the front door. So I'm going to be using some dark oak trapdoors, and I'm just creating a frame like this. So I'm building 3 across, then I'm going to come down 2 with my trapdoors, and let's flip these open. Finally, I need to add in the doorway, so I'm going to come outside the build and click onto the floor block in here so it should open inwards. Let's add in a couple of dark oak buttons next, so we've got one beside the door like this. And then I've got a few lanterns. I'm going to hang one off of each of these spruce logs. It's already looking so charming. Next, we're going to be adding some chimneys up on top of the roof. So I'm going to start on the chimney on the right hand side. I'm going to the second layer from the top here, and I'm finding this block in the group of 2. I'm going to place down a brick here with a stair on top, and a stair over this way, and an upside down one as well. Then I'm going to add 2 bricks on top of here, and a wall coming to this side. I'm going to finish this off with a campfire surrounded by some spruce trapdoors, and then a pot on top of the wall. There's our first chimney. For our next chimney, I've come over to the left hand side. I'm going to find this log here, and diagonally up from that we should have a gap where we can place in a stair here and a stair here. I'm going to add in 2 more stairs, one facing this way and an upside down one. On top of that stair I'll add in a block, and we've got a wall to this side. I'll finish this chimney off with a campfire surrounded by some trapdoors. And here is our second chimney. I'm just about done with the construction of this build, but what really brings a Hobbit Hole house like this to life is all of the extra details, so let's add them in. And wow, what a transformation! I haven't added anything to the structure of this build, but you can see how the details have really brought it to life, so let's check them out. The first thing I did is some serious terraforming, so you can see that I've melded my custom mound into the mountain behind it by extending out some of this moss and bringing some grass in. You can customize the interior of your Hobbit hole depending on where you place it, so if you place it right up against a mountain, you might be able to make some more interior space. Or if you are placing it in a big open field like over that way, you can always create more space by digging down and creating lower floors. You can also see I've done terraforming to connect it over to this edge, and I've made sure to keep the front of my terraforming relatively flat to allow me to add lots of decoration. The next major thing that brings this build to life is all of the greenery. You can see that this build really does look nestled amongst the forest. So I've placed a few trees on top, and I've just placed 3 directly on top so that way you can still see the shape of the house, but I've got plenty of oak trees all around the outside framing this build. You can also see I've placed in custom bushes. For these I've used birch leaves. They have a slightly more muted tone which works with the colour of this build, and I've draped them over the front a little bit. I've placed bushes on the front. I've got bushes all the way around my pathways and all across the back. You can see them nestled here and there, and they have a really organic shape. Another feature that we've got with our greenery is plenty of grass. So our Hobbit hole is quite an unkept garden. We've got grass growing everywhere, including some tall grass, which I've used around the edges of my planting just to make it look a little bit more natural. I've kept to a colour scheme of white and green up on the top of my Hobbit house, and that really makes the colour at the front pop. You can also see I've done the same thing in the garden around it, with just white flowers here and there, and that means that decorations like this seating area with custom lanterns is the showcase, not the flowers. As for my pathway, for the paths around the used areas of the house and these lanterns here, I've used a mixture of this dead brain coral block and the dead horn coral block, and that has a really cool gravelly, almost cobbled texture, and you can see the same texture over here. Then for the main road which I've got going in front, and this would be a wonderful way to connect a few Hobbit holes, I've used a mixture of packed mud, mud brick and rooted dirt. Taking inspiration from the lovely warm tones of the spruce in this build, I've used spruce for all my fences, and not only have I created a front garden with this, but I've used the fences to frame the pathway as well. Some other decor pieces I added in include this small dock here, and you can always add in a custom river if you don't have a place for a dock or even a lake. And over this side I have a small swing set. You can also see little details nestled amongst my garden, like this little wheelbarrow, and I've got some pumpkins over this side too. If you're looking for more ideas on how to decorate both the interior and exterior of this build, as well as gardening ideas and pathing ideas, make sure you check out the links to the tutorials in the description below. Now that you have a cozy Hobbit-style house as a perfect home base, you're just about ready for an adventure, perhaps with a wizard. If you enjoyed today's video, I'd really appreciate it if you consider liking and subscribing, and check out my Patreon if you'd like to support me further. I'll see you in another video.